it's just going to be fun and lighthearted, but the food is going to be real. It's going to be good. It's going to be delicious. So you foodies out there, I know you're there. You better come and join us. It's not that expensive. It is well worth it.
Welcome to Tap&Table, episode 4. We are at the culinary classroom at Pikes Peak State College, and we have a couple special guests with us. We have Lyle Gallin, who's the vice president of the Culinary Arts Club, and we have Heidi Block, who's a culinary arts instructor here. We're going to ask them to introduce themselves more in just a moment. I want to thank them for having us here to the school, and they just gave us a really nice tour of the space. I'm excited. So let's jump in real quick, too. Why don't you take turns and tell us about yourselves?
Well, Heidi Block, and I have been teaching at Pikes Peak for 20 years. So I was in the industry over 15 years, so kind of dating myself, but it's been a long, happy journey for me. I started out, I was that kid that was at the stove and like, what can I do now? And then in high school, I had a really influential teacher that offered a class that was called gourmet cooking, and I took it, and I was bitten by the bug by then. And I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And my parents are like, you have to go to college, So I did go to CSU, but during the process, I came to dinner with one of my friends that lived in Colorado Springs at the Swiss Chalet. We went up to Swiss Chalet in Woodland Park, and Hans Peter Haas was offering an internship, and he's like, you have to take this now or it's not going to be here. And so on the way home, my girlfriend and I were talking. I'm like, I don't know. And my boyfriend now, at the time, he came, he was at a field research project at CSU, and he came home, and I had moved here and I was living with his parents. And he's like, what happened? I just went away for the summer. And then I worked as an apprenticeship through the ACF, the American Culinary Federation. And I started the first junior member club, and just been working in Colorado Springs, did my apprenticeship, and then we opened up Westfield's International Conference Resort in Virginia. And I've been in fine dining, I've been in country clubs, I've done conference dining, mom and pop.
Those are all very different things.
They are very different, yeah. Up in Crested Butte, it was a small restaurant, and a husband and wife team owned it, and they had separate restaurants, and they were always fighting who was better, the restaurant. I was like, oh, keep me out of this, please.
So how'd you go from on the job to teaching others how to do this? How long have you been here?
Approximately 20 years. And I was always the person at the job that they're like, can you train this person? I'm like, sure, yeah. And I liked that. I like training. I like being thorough, because I'm like, no, let's make sure you do it this way, because that's how I learned, and this is the proper way. So let's make sure we do it correctly. And so my bosses were always like, sous chefs and executive chefs are like, do you want to be the trainer? And I'm like, sure, I'll do it. And then Rob Hudson, we came back from Virginia and ended up in Crested Butte, and decided we, weren't making that much money. And so we needed to come back down to the Front Range. And Rob called me and he said, do you want to teach? And I said, I don't know. I don't know if this is something I can do. He's like, oh, you'll be fine. And I started teaching part-time, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I've done it ever since. I've taught ever since. So
cool.
Yeah, and I come from a family of teachers. My dad was an art teacher. My mom was a librarian. My husband just retired as an elementary school teacher. So, and that was a bonus, because his birthday is on Valentine's Day, and I never saw him. And so it's like we got on this teaching gig, and I'm like, hey, we actually have a weekend together.
Nice.
I'm going to see you for once. We're not two ships passing in the night.
That's common to the industry as a whole, even if you're not. It's hard. The hours are hard.
It is. And what I have to say is, you need to have somebody that's supportive of that. You have to have a significant other, a spouse, whatever, that understands the job. Every job has minuses, pluses, but this job is it can be taxing sometimes, and you just have to have somebody that understands and is like, how come you're not home? So you have to really be
I think you've just given us a new our show didn't previously have relationship advice. I think we're going to start incorporating relationship advice into each episode with people.
Absolutely.
So thanks for kicking that off. I do appreciate that.
Yeah, Chef Tourville.
Right.
He said to me, female in the industry, when I was going into the industry, he came up to me and he goes, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And I said, "I think I really do." And he goes, "Can you carry a sheet pan with food on it?" And I said, "I don't know."
Oh, I love how it always goes to that. I interviewed some female brewers and they're like, "Oh yeah," the guys would always say, "Well, can you carry this keg up the steps?" And you're like, nobody should carry that keg up the steps. It's going to hurt anybody's body.
Exactly.
But it's like the most machismo, ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's garbage. So I hope you were like, "Yeah, watch," and then whatever.
Well,
or just like, "No, I'm not going to do that. I'm
the
not
next
going to
question
dignify
was, "Do you think you're going to get married?" And I said, "I hope
little personal.
so."
This is going to really swing different directions.
No. And he's like, "Well, you better pick someone that understands this industry." And so he was trying to really give me an idea of, this isn't an easy industry, especially for women. And so think about it. And I'm like, no, I want to do this. And so I'm glad I jumped into it.
Let's bring Lyle into the conversation as well. Why don't you give us a quick rundown on how you are here today?
All right. Yeah. I'm Lyle Gallin. I'm vice president of the Culinary Arts Club. I'm going for baking and pastry, so I'm just about done. I'll graduate in the summer. Just a couple classes left. Love kind of working with chocolate more than anything. When I started this, I didn't really know that was what I love to do, but chocolate has really kind of resonated with me, so I'm hoping to just kind of further that once I graduate here.
Okay. And this is your first foray into food at all? You didn't work in the industry before?
No, sir. So I did grow microgreens for random restaurants around town for a couple of years before I started school. And once COVID hit, unfortunately, microgreens was one of the first things that restaurants got rid of.
Okay.
So I really enjoyed just meeting the chefs and learning about the kitchen and stuff. So turned to my wife one day, I was like, I think I'm going to try baking and pastry and go back to school. And here I am.
Wow. Okay. Did you have a former career you left for this?
Mainly just garden, like microgreens and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
All right. So you were industry adjacent, and then you got hooked by like getting back in the kitchens and seeing things, looking around and saying, "This looks kind of interesting." Okay.
Yes, sir.
It's too early to say whether you're going to stick with it. You aren't even in it yet. So you got to like finish school first.
I'd like to think after the time I put in that, I'll at least have a chance.
Yeah. Have you done an internship or stage anywhere around town yet?
I will be. I started this semester staging over at the Broadmoor Chocolate Shop. Unfortunately, I had to postpone that, but I'm looking forward to getting in there in summer and furthering that a bit.
You started at a good place. The Broadmoor's good.
Yes,
yes,
That's
exactly.
pretty much the best program in town.
Yes, sir.
So well played. You have a question, Ryan? I don't mean to ask everything today.
What about chocolate excites you?
Oh man, it's so you can do anything with it. If you wanted to make a big sculpture, and I mean, it tastes delicious, of course, too. That's my favorite part about it, is eating and making something you've never thought of, or flavor combinations that you've never thought of. And chocolate is just one of those things it's really incorporate. And like I said, if you want to do a showpiece, you can do that with it, or mainly just delicious treats for me.
I can't disagree. There's all over the internet are all the different chocolate makers. There's that one French guy, Guichon, yeah, that makes the crazy like pterodactyls that are like 7 feet tall. And I watched that with my toddler, and we're always just like amazed at just the amount of things that he can recreate using chocolate and edible sugar.
Yeah, and
it's a cool thing to know that that's available not just for this top chef from France, and that you can go to school and learn how to do all that stuff.
Absolutely, my wife is pushing me very hard to go to that he's got a little school in Vegas. And she's pushing me pretty hard to try that out. So we'll see.
That's I would say do
yes.
it.
Yeah. That's not a question.
The one thing I saw from him, just total side thing, is that just when we think of this weird chocolate guy, is he has this way of making sugar bubbles with like a bucket and pushing it down. And I'm just like, this is like the most ingenious thing to make these perfect spheres. And then he puts like two together to make it into like an actual like globe. And you're like, how has this not been something that like everyone knew about until he just went out? And I bet it's like a technique that a lot of people have done for years, but it's just really interesting how that has gone from this sort of almost like underground, adjacent. You see all these things on pastry shelves, and you see them, in restaurants, but you don't know how they're made. And now with a lot of these shows and these TikTok people that show sort of the behind the scenes, you see the techniques and the time that takes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really interesting, and it's cool that it's just something you can do.
Yeah, I feel like most of his stuff is half engineering, half chocolate.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
I'm going to have you tell us next about the whole culinary program, and that's a lot to cover. I know we're going to do it in broad brushstrokes. Before that too, Ryan, I realized my intro, I didn't even say who we were. Do you want to tell people who we are in case they just joined us? Who are we?
I don't know. I don't know who I am right now.
You don't know who you are.
It's been a long week. No, I'm Ryan Hannigan. I write a beer blog here in town called Focus on the Beer. And I partnered over here with my food critic buddy, Matt Schniper. And we both worked at The Independent for a number of years, if you haven't watched our first episode. But we finally decided to join forces and work to highlight both the food and the beverage and the hospitality industry here in Colorado Springs. And, maybe even beyond. This first season, we're really just focusing on people here. So like we're here at Pikes Peak State College, and we have industry professionals. You've been in the industry for 35 years. You're hopefully going to jump into the industry, industry adjacent, like he had said, with the microgreens. But it's just really amazing to be here talking to you and learning about these opportunities. And hopefully somebody that's watching this, when we're about to learn about the programs and how this all works, hopefully somebody, either they or their son or their daughter or a friend that's looking to get into the culinary world, doesn't have to go off to Johnson and Wales. They don't have to go off to another city. They can stay here in Colorado Springs, enjoy the mountains, enjoy what we have to offer here as Colorado Springs, but also attend Pikes Peak State College and go through their culinary program here, which would be awesome. Stay here.
Yes, absolutely.
Only go to Vegas for a chocolate thing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's the only. You heard him angling, right? He's like, we might go other places. He wants to go to the Vegas for the chocolate. He's going to suggest an episode right after this on the way home. So
there you go.
Smart man.
All right, so let's jump into your program. How long is it? What do students do? Give us the big overview.
So it's intended for a 2-year program. And I actually teach the high school students in the morning, which is called Career Start. It used to be called the Area Vocational Program. I think that's a great idea and a great start for young people, because it really gets them in the door to see if they want to go into this industry. The main thing is, the first thing I ask them, how many people are cooking for their families or siblings right now? Every hand goes up. And so, it's a skill. It's a life skill. And so everybody eats. So that's the first portion, is the Career Start. We have that in the morning, 9 to 11:40 every day. Well, Monday through Friday. And then we have we have certificates and degrees that you can attain. And then we also have a hospitality degree that you can make, or that you can acquire. So we have a management certificate, management degree, pastry degree, pastry certificate, culinary arts degree, culinary arts certificate. We did have a sustainability, but the numbers are falling down as far as attendance. So and then we have a lot of online classes that we can also offer. So the intent is a 2-year program, but it does take a little bit longer than that. You have your core classes that you need to take. But we try to get people into the industry. And the first thing we say is we make them come to an introduction of our program. And we say, you know what? You really need to get into the industry and see if this is something that you want to actually pursue. Because we've had students that have graduated from the program, gone into the industry, and like, what was I thinking? You're like, yeah, it's nuts.
It's not just school.
It's not like a cooking show where you have all your mise en place laid out and you're just dumping, stirring, it's not that. So, we just have to kind of educate them to say, this is not an easy job, just like most jobs, all jobs. I don't know of any easy job. So just know what you're going into and then, go for it. So, but that's kind of a broad spectrum of what we offer. Culinary arts for the high school students. And then we have a really diverse student body. We have 17-year-olds in the college. Well, our high school students are concurrent enrollment. So 17 to, I think the oldest one I don't know, 70. I mean, we really have
That's
a diverse. Great. Yeah, it's great.
We noticed that when we took the tour, we got a chance to sort of jump into that class, and there was everyone from kids that looked like they were 17, 18, 19 years old to guys that looked like they could have been my age.
Right.
Everyone's at a different stage in their life.
Absolutely.
And if you choose that this is what you want to do, like, that's super cool that there is this opportunity.
And 5 of those students were my former students last year in the Career Start. So we really try to get them to go through the whole program. And some of them want to continue and go to another cooking school or 4-year college, but at least they are trying to find their grounding and what they really want to do in life.
And for those high school kids, do they get college credit for that?
They absolutely do.
So that's a great thing for them to just sort of get a head start on even just college in general, even if they don't decide to go here.
Right. And the tuition for a high school student is around $15,000, but that includes books, tuition, fees. They get their uniforms, their knives. Everything is covered in that. Yes, it's a great deal. And so, they have rules and regulations, like they have so many absences.
Yep.
And I always tell them, you don't get this in the industry. 3 strikes, you're out. So, but it's really nice because it gives people an opportunity, especially families that want their kids to go to college. It gets them in the door. So they have to apply to this program and then get accepted from their school. So their high school pays for them.
Okay. Since we touched on it, can you tell us about the cost of this program, and are there scholarships available? How can people access it? I gather that it is more affordable than the big schools, probably.
It is. 3,000 to 5,000 is what we're looking at when you talk about fees, books, tuition, and it's going to be a lot more for an out-of-stater, but really, I was looking at the CIA in Hyde Park, and I went and visited it. And my mom's like, "I'm sorry, but $17,000 a semester is not in our budget." and
that was in those days dollars.
Yes. Yeah. So this is really affordable, and those numbers might seem really high, but they're not. We have almost 500 students in our program now. So it is affordable. So anywhere from 3 to 15.
Okay.
So, and there's no student housing, so we don't offer that.
Okay. And there are some grants or scholarships available?
There are.
Okay.
Yes. Any type of scholarship that comes through the Scholarship Foundation or we find out about, we make sure that we post it in our D2L shell, Desire to Learn shell, and make sure that people can get that assistance.
Okay. Heidi, you're one of how many instructors here?
So we have 4 full-time instructors and 3 part-time instructors and 1 lab assistant, but she's kind of doing everything right now. So it's kind of a small staff, but I think it's enough people.
It seems like it works. I mean, it seems like that there was just good rapport in that classroom that we went and visited. It does. I mean, if you're in a kitchen, you don't want to have too many cooks in the kitchen, essentially.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
What other classes did you enjoy other than the baking and the pastry that you fell into and loved? What else have you done here?
Well, I've done mostly that. I've done just about all of my labs. Right now I'm in a soups and sauces class, which is actually really fun. You get to learn all the mother sauces. And that's really helpful for pastry as well, because you're going to make all types of, raspberry sauces and stuff like that. But it gives a great foundation on what makes a good sauce, like what you're supposed to do, the techniques in making it all. I mean, like I said, most of my expertise has come from the pastry department. I haven't gone too far away from that, but the confections class is all sugar work. Great bread class. That was one of my favorite classes. You come home every day with something delicious. And
nice.
Yeah.
People are enjoying that you're in school because they get to eat things.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And what's the core curriculum you mentioned? What is the core other classes you have to take outside of cookie?
Psychology, computers, English, math.
And it's all of the above, like one from each category, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been to college before?
I did. I graduated from CC.
There's core. You did the block system.
I did the block plan. I'm a weird person, but I was just curious. I mean, so someone might want to get into the industry and they come here to learn cooking. They're going to have to do some of these other things. It's just part of how going to college works to get that credit.
Mm-hmm.
But do you find applications in some of these other subjects too? Do you try to bring it into here? Like, well, hey, you're
Yeah,
gonna need
absolutely.
the math for the weighing and the
Right.
measuring and the baking. You know,
Yes.
like we're doing this in grams now, so you better understand that.
Right.
'cause-
Yeah. And we have them write papers. They have to write papers. They have to do PowerPoints and presentations. So, the English portion of it, and we try to get some high impact practices in there and get diversity in there. And so it's just, yes,
you need
absolutely.
to be well-rounded.
all in
Yeah.
2 years if you can.
Yeah.
That's a
Yes.
lot. So it sounds like there's a lot of foundational things that happen here. You're going to learn. I'm just going to sum it up and say the basics at the very least, and probably some advanced things that you go for. But the other part of the job, as we've alluded to, is the lifestyle. It's hard, long hours, often low pay. Sometimes you're not around nice chefs or other line cooks who are as welcoming as your student friends are. And you just kind of get thrown to the wolves in this industry sometimes. So
Sometimes.
how, as an instructor, do you prepare Lyle to go out and get smacked by the real world once he leaves here?
Tell them stories, lots and lots of stories. I really do. I put that into my lectures. I'm like, this is what a chef, I had this experience with a chef, and I cried and said, do I really want to do this? And then I'd be on the phone. I don't think I want to come home. I don't think I want to do this. But then I love food, and I have a passion. I just am a foodie. When I travel, I pick up salt and honey because I know that'll last forever. But if I'm in Italy, where we were, and I pick up the olive oil. And, when you're on the train going up to the Dolomites and they stop and little kids run to the train, you buy what they have because you're local. You're buying whatever you can. And we really do try to support our locals, just so you know. But yeah, it's kind of what we do.
Yeah. Have you had any crying moments based off these stories you've heard? Have you broken down yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
She hasn't hit that button yet, but I'm sure it's coming.
Okay. Well, you'll get there. It's fine.
Yeah.
There'll be a tearful moment.
So, Lyle, when you introduced yourself, you talked about a club.
Yes.
And we've covered a lot about what happens here in the classroom. But what does like the sort of extracurricular options present to you as a student? Just either for support or figuring out what you all want to do. What does the club do, and what does it do for you?
Okay, so the club meets about every 3 weeks,
Okay.
and we talk about events that are going on in the city that we might want to be a part of. In April 13th, there's a cheese and chocolate festival
Cool.
coming up. So I had talked on Facebook, just thinking I might want to go. Well, the president of the Culinary Club said, well, this might be a really good opportunity for the whole club to get together and just kind of go have fun outside of class. And so we talked about that, and we reached out to the person who's running the event, and she offered to help us out actually to get a booth. So not only are we able to get over there and
Sweet.
have some fun and eat some cheese and chocolate, but we're also there to advertise the program, and show some delicious chocolate. And
So you're gonna have your own chocolates there.
I believe so.
You
Yes,
should
sir.
upstage everyone and blow their
Oh, no.
minds. You're like, you mean the students made that? Like,
Yeah.
just go crazy.
That's what we're shooting
Honestly,
for.
sometimes people are in disbelief. They're like,
That's awesome.
no, a student did not make that. And you're like, yes, they did.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
Have you thought about taking the club to Vegas for a chocolate show?
We've talked about this. We need funding. We need a really good
Exactly.
fundraiser.
And before we leave the school, well, we're going to keep talking about the school part. We have a couple of things
We're in
going
the
on.
school.
We're in the school, but I mean,
talking
I
about
want to know too. I wanted to give you a chance to. Just one thing. So a lot of people will just learn on the job. They'll just go to kitchens and learn on the job. It's how I started. I didn't. I worked in line for a little while when I was in high school. I started in the industry when I was like 15, so I started really early. But a lot of people will do that versus come here. Make your case. Why should people go to culinary school and not just start in the industry?
Well, we've reached out to local chefs and we say, what do you want from a student or an employee when you're hiring? What are you looking for? And they want to know, they want that someone that they are hiring to know classic cuts, basic mother sauces, methods, cooking methods. They want to be able to have somebody jump in and do the job, not have to train them. That's what we're trying to do here. Not trying, we are doing here. We're training them and getting them ready for the industry. So it allows them to come to school. It allows them to jump into a higher position. They're not starting as a dishwasher or a low prep cook position. They are starting at a higher position. And the first class we have them take is a fundamentals class and a sanitation class. And they have to pass a national exam of 75% or better before they can go into the kitchen.
Oh.
So they have a Serve Safe certificate. So that's another plus, is that they have Serve Safe when they go to a job. But and also when they get the Serve Safe, we say, tell your employer if you're working, and they bump their scale up, their pay rate.
Because otherwise they have to like stop and go to the health department and do it, and it just slows the whole thing down, right?
It slows everything down. It's really not easy to find classes to do it on your own. And so this is just one thing that we've decided to incorporate in the program. So So I think the main thing is that you're going to go into a higher position and a higher paid position.
Well, because the restaurants, they're required to have at least a certain amount of people that are Serve Safe certified, like on hand at all times.
Mm-hmm.
So to go in even as a brand new person, but with that certification, you automatically are someone that has more abilities than just someone off the street that may have skills but might not have that certification.
And there's nothing wrong with people starting without any type of formal training or any kind of education in culinary arts. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that this gets you just a jump ahead a little bit.
Well,
quicker.
when we were in the classroom, I think the instructor in there asked everyone, like, who is working in a restaurant right now. So it's not that, and I think it was probably 60, 75% of everyone raised their hands. And there was everything from Applebee's to the Cheyenne Mountain Resort across the board. And I think that sort of answers your question a little bit. I think people are doing both. They're not just at school, they're also working.
Oh, yeah.
And
that'd be that's the best value of all. Go to school, and while you're in school, be in the kitchens. And then, like you said, you get to test and see if it's for you or not.
Right.
Okay, so you've made your case. I'm convinced.
I'm convinced.
All right. So following up to that, here's a secondary way to make your case. It's the alum. They tell the story. So you have a lot of people placed in this community here. I'm sure others have left and done other things, but I'd love to go over that list with you. I think that's really fun. I think our viewers and listeners are going to know some of these people. They've eaten in their restaurants. They've had their products. So let's do the highlight reel. Who came out of this program since you've been here, or let's just say in a 20-year window?
So one of my high school students is now an executive chef at the country club in Palmer Lake. One of my current students is his sous chef, and I'm like, this is such a small world. So Danny Anderson and Jill, oh my gosh, McAllister, thank you, at UCCS.
Okay.
Amy Tunstall at POP.
Amy's an alum.
Yeah.
I just wrote about POP a few weeks ago. What a cool thing she's put together.
Yes.
It's amazing. That facility is incredible.
She was an amazing student too. She was just very focused, and I just adore. You get to know these people, and we always tell people, you're part of our family now. I mean, seriously, come back anytime you need any help with anything.
Wow.
And so she is just,
And if you're listening and you don't know what POP is, you can look at my side dish page and find that article. But it's over in Old Colorado City. They took over the old Hagia Sophia. It's like 30th or 29th in Colorado. Very impressive. 2 floors, commissary kitchen, room for other pop-ups, cute little coffee cafe, event space upstairs, second kitchen upstairs. I think she hit every hurdle in terms of making the whole thing come up to compliance. There's a lift out front, fully ADA accessible now. There's a elevator. The whole thing is just really, really nice. I was super impressed. So
she's amazing.
Go check that out for sure. Okay.
She also has a VRBO.
Well,
who knew?
She's on it.
I know she is. So Andre Darrell, he's a former student that works Sodexo. Isabel Grease works at Cheyenne Mountain Country Club, and so does oh my gosh, Ashley Buckner. Sorry. And then Martha Whitaker has her own business, and she's at the farmers markets. She's going to be probably making cookies for the fundraiser that we're approaching soon.
Yeah, we'll talk about that here shortly on the show too.
And her business is called Better Butter. No, what is it called? It is, I'm sorry, Martha. Better Butter. Yeah, Better Butter.
Okay.
pastries or cookies. Yeah.
All right. And I'm
So
gonna-
those are just a few.
well, I think I know of a few, but you can confirm.
Correct.
Isn't Andres Velez
Yes.
from Pig Latin is
Yes,
one, right?
yes.
So Pig Latin and Anjou, which is
Yes.
at Quadi. That's a really celebrated local business. People love Pig Latin.
Mm-hmm.
Started with the truck, then got to sit down, got to be on the what, diners and drive-ins, or was it Guy Fieri? Whatever it was. It was.
Yep.
He was on TV.
Right.
That's big. And who else? I think I talked about Sapanza banker who now runs what's it, Chef's Kitchen, or what's the name of her business?
Yes.
And she had worked at like Nosh and some of the other places back in the day too.
Right.
Wonderful chef. Isn't Ashley Brown, who's at 4, also
Yes.
an alum?
Yes.
That's huge. She's
Yeah.
at Brother Luck's place. That's a top chef kitchen.
Right.
So, and she is the chef at 4. Brother's running multiple businesses, and she's holding that down. So that's a very prestigious placement.
It is.
I have one more for you. It's a brewer, in fact, who went through your program, didn't stay in food, went to drink. Who am I talking about? Darren Bays
Yes.
from Goat Patch.
Yes. Goat Patch. Yes.
And guess what? Because we're enjoying this so much, I brought Goat Patch beer from Darren for us to try together because I thought that would be a fun thing to do. We always drink something on the show. And I said, we have an alum who is a brewer in town. We're definitely drinking that. Do you know what I brought, Ryan? Which beer?
Probably Pappy Legba.
That's correct. Yeah. Do you want to talk about Pappy while I'm opening it?
Actually, I'm going to ask them a question while you're opening that.
Okay.
And I've started asking a lot of our guests this, and it's really, we've talked about sort of the nuts and bolts of everything here, but I really want to get to know you and your experience with food. So this question is for both of you. What is your earliest memory of food, and how has that helped shape what you do with food now?
You want me to go first?
Sure,
All
go
right.
for it, Jeff.
I grew up in Fort Collins. And so my parents my dad was an art teacher and my mom was a librarian, and fast pitch softball. He's an All-American at CSU, through CSU football. We had people that were farmers. And so they'd call and say, Joe, the tomatoes are ripe, come get them. The corn is up, come get them. And we would go out as a family and pick, and then we'd come home and can. And I remember that I remember my mom having this crock of pickles in the corner, and I'm like, what are those? What is that thing bubbling over in the corner? And she's like, well, those are pickles. You love pickles. And so that's one of my earliest, fondest memories of just canning and preserving food and eating in the season. But then you could have these Palisade peaches that were canned in the middle of winter, and my mom would go, how about some peaches from Palisade? And you're just like, yeah, get the ice cream out.
And the juiciness is still there. And,
Yes. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yes. Lyle, how about you?
Well, the one thing I can really think of is my grandma. I grew up in Fort Lauderdale, and my grandma used to always make yellow cake with chocolate frosting. And it was for every occasion. Didn't matter if it was your birthday, Christmas, Thanksgiving. There was going to be that yellow cake with chocolate frosting. But I always just remember the patience that she always had in decorating her cake. It was always the same. And it was just something that she called penguins. And they were just little like swoops up, and it just made it look like there were penguins walking all over the cake. And just seeing how much pride she had and patience and just doing this cake and making sure that it's right. And she would do it 20 times a year, but every time it was like the most important thing she's ever done. And it just made me kind of have a respect for the time it takes to do something proper and do something right, and kind of to have your own signature, I guess.
There's something about yellow cake with chocolate frosting though.
Yeah.
I like that's especially homemade. Like
Yes.
it's not like Betty Crocker out of a box. It's homemade, and I can just picture it, and I can like taste it in my mouth just when you described it. Like I was like that threw me back too. I'm like, so thank you for answering that. It's something where I want to try to ask everyone here that we talk to in the food industry, really, because we can talk about what you're doing here all day long, but I really want to know you as people and what drives you, and so picking fresh produce and canning it. That's something that I feel like went away for a long time and has come back really strong, especially with the pandemic.
Right.
But it's something that is core to, I think, Americana, like in a core sense for our entire country. And it's just a really cool way to save food and also make really fun things that you might not normally make.
Well, and I didn't mention this, but my husband and I were certified by the state of Colorado organic. And so we grew organic fruits and trees, but a few trees, but mostly vegetables, and then had 5 acres of pumpkins. My sister's farm had to get certified by the state of Colorado. So we did that for about 4 years. And I worked in the industry as well. But I tell you, having your hands in the earth and just... You know, even the potato beetles, you're like, yeah, buddy, you're out of here. But no, it was cool. I mean,
you have a good understanding of where the food comes from.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And the work it goes to bring it to you.
Right. I used to live a block apart and both have our gardens, and so we could, trade little things. But I've spent a lot of time in my own backyard doing that, the very small scale.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's incredibly important for people to get in touch with where it all starts, and
it is.
Learn that side of it too.
You know, when coming through the industry, it's just like I'd go and do talks at elementary schools, and kids didn't know really what a potato looked like. You're like, well, this is a French fry. This can be a French fry. And they're like, no, I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. And then I would go around with some nutrition advice, and I'd show them how much sugar is in a can of soda. And they're like, no, my mom would tell me if it had a lot of sugar. Like, okay, wow. It does.
Okay, I'm gonna let you talk about this beer in just a second. But I want to share a quick little story.
You're the beer guy.
My father used to, like, when I figured out how I can get him into every episode. My father, Michael Hannigan, used to run the Pikes Peak Community Foundation. And they used to run Venatucci Farm for a number of years after Nick Venatucci passed it on. And one of the anecdotal stories that they used to tell when they brought school children to the farm is they would ask the kids, well, where did your breakfast come from? And people would be like, Safeway, McDonald's, the fridge. And they would bring them over to the chickens and let them grab an egg that's still warm from underneath the chicken. And you just see these light bulbs go off in their brains. And that connection from the earth to food, we've sort of lost as a society, even across the world. And to see these kids, maybe one of these kids is in your class now. Who knows? This was 10, 12 years ago. And so they were 7 or 8 years old. They could be here now. And that might have been a formative thing where they go, oh, this is where food comes from.
Yeah.
I don't want to claim that, but it's one of those things where it's really interesting in what you're doing, teaching people how to manipulate that food and make food that tastes better and works better and is better.
No, absolutely.
On Saturday, March 9th, join Pikes Peak State College in the Broadmoor's Cheyenne Lodge for the 2024 Chef Henry Trujillo Memorial Scholarship Soiree. This experience takes you across the decades of Chef Trujillo's life to delight your palate, support future culinary artists, and experience gourmet flavors from regional food producers paired with local beers and Colorado wines. Attend, cherish, and uplift. We're honoring Chef Trujillo's spirit, so be part of it. Tickets are $75. You can RSVP through the link in the show notes or head to pikespeak.edu/Trujillo. That's TRUJILLO. See you there.
A lot of chefs I've interviewed over the years say a common thing: good food starts with good ingredients.
Yes.
So that's what you're speaking to as well.
Absolutely.
Local,
yes.
The quality things. That might be a good segue to quickly talk about what we're going to share. And we're going to cheers to both of you. And
cheers.
Thanks for joining us. We're not
Thank
quite
you.
done yet.
Too far away to
we have one more thing to talk about. But hey, we can do our side. Let's get one sound on the camera. There we go.
There we go.
All right, cool. So what you're drinking is actually an Imperial. It's 13.3% ABV. So careful. This is what I poured each of us, pretty much the equivalent of a whole beer. It's rye whiskey barrel aged. It is brewed with over a pound of cherries per gallon. Ryan, you know a little bit more about the history of this.
Yeah, so this beer actually was originally formulated when Darren was working at Trinity Brewing over the north central west side area. I said a bunch of different directions there, but he was working with Jason Yester over at Trinity Brewing, and this beer came to fruition essentially, and it's a way to just pack a ton of cherries into this Imperial Saison, 13%. Some years it's barrel aged, sometimes they don't put it in barrels, but they usually use fresh cherries, and it's this way to sort of bring this really seasonal fruit into a heavy syrupy beer, and you get the cherry note, you get the boozy quality of it, but it's not so much, it's not like whiskey or something that's going to actually like burn. You taste it in that way that like you probably taste like when you're doing like chocolates and stuff like that, where you get this slickness and this smoothness that's from the alcohol and the thickness of the beer itself, and it just pairs really nicely with those cherries. So then when Darren went off to open Goat Patch Brewing with his wife and their other business partners, a couple years later, Jason Yester from Trinity actually gave the recipe to Darren, because Darren was the one that helped formulate the recipe. It was his baby, and as that sort of goodwill gesture, which is what happens in the hospitality and the brewing industry in a lot of towns, and especially this town, there was that goodwill of, here, this is your beer, you make it from now on. And I actually think it's gotten better since they've made it. They've added different variations of it, and every year I feel like it just gets better and better and better.
It's delicious.
It's for your knowledge, it's the Pappy Legba Imperial Saison. It's in 500 milliliter bottles right now. So this is a good time, when this episode publishes soon, if you want to try what we're trying on this show, run over to Goat Patch and pick one up. They do this every year, but in limited runs. So this is not around all the time. It's not a flagship. So it's a special beer to get right now.
I think this is the first year they've done 500 milliliter bottles. It's been traditionally in 750 milliliter, so a big sort of wine bottle style with a punt in the bottom of every. But yeah, the 500 milliliters, those are sort of the hip beer bottle these days for breweries, and it's a sort of a better size for a beer, because 750 milliliters is like a full bottle of wine. It's a lot of beer, especially of this high of an ABV. It's a good full bodied wine essentially.
And as we're talking about this again, this goes back to a student who started here.
Right.
This delicious beer we're drinking, Darren's culinary knowledge.
Yes.
I'll share a history story with you too. I worked with Darren at Il Vicino when I was in college back in the late 90s, early aughts. So he was cooking and I was in front of the house, but we became buds. Briefly roomed together in a college house as well, so we've been roommates, and then just stayed in touch. But it's really cool to see Darren, who I consider a friend, in this position now at this wonderful brewery. But it's cool to be able to run down that list we just ran down of people like Ashley, like Sipanza, like Andres, like Darren, all the names you mentioned. They have stayed here and improved our scene and our community, and they've lent those talents that they at least learn some of them here with you to this community, and that makes us all better as a culinary scene. So we are often driving at how are we going to be that next great food city. We all want the Springs to be an awesome place. We know it's a great place to live. We're living here. A lot of other people are coming in, but you don't often hear other people saying, oh, let's go to the Springs. It's this great food scene. They go up to Boulder, Fort Collins, and other places in the state and points beyond, but we should and could be attracting them here, because we do have these little bright spots of some great spots in the community. I think it's probably just telling our story better, getting that word out there further. But
that's what we're here for.
Yeah, this is what this show is going to do its part to do. But, Darren's a great testament to that. We'll change subjects real quick.
I think one of the other things that I want to touch on with sort of what you're talking about with, talking about Darren and all these other alumni that are now still in the community is that the threads of the community go through this school. So it's not just this school sort of operates separate from the rest of the community. It's that all of these different people have ties in and out of this school, and we saw it today when we were talking to the students, where they're already working in the industry, they're already working in the community. They have connections outside of the school, and the school just helps to build on those connections. And then also they're able to bring their connections to their other students here through the club, through their connections here. They're all able to sort of build up our entire community as a hospitality and restaurant industry through programs like this at the school.
Yeah, that's great insight. we can actually bring in one more character in that whole story too, which is the consumer, the eater, and they can actually interact with these students and some of our chefs at an upcoming event. That's what I wanted to drive towards. Was we mentioned scholarships earlier. You have something really big coming up. That's an exciting annual event. It's changed over the years.
Yes.
Why don't we talk about that? The details of this year, some past years. What is this event about? And it's a great way again for the community to interact with you.
Okay. This is the Henry Trujillo Scholarship Fundraiser Dinner. And it's actually going to be set up so it's kind of like noshing. Well, you're going to have several different tables with all the eras that he worked at the Broadmoor. So he was hired by the first ever chef at the Broadmoor, and he worked his way up from dishwasher to executive chef.
Holy
And
cow.
I have to say that I miss him because is a very, very genuinely nice person. Sometimes you get into those Michelin star restaurants and hotels and, it's just different.
There's
And
a reason why there's TV shows called Kitchen Nightmares.
Exactly.
So Chef Trujillo, was he an instructor here? Or
No,
what's
he
his
wasn't an
history?
instructor. He was, I knew him through the apprenticeship program.
Okay.
And what I really, really liked and remembered about him is that he gave me support as a female in the industry. And so this is all, his son, Jeff, reached out to us and they said, can we do some type of fundraiser or something, scholarship? We want to start a scholarship fund. So we are hosting, Cheyenne Lodge at the Broadmoor is the space. And if you've never been there, oh my gosh, it is so beautiful. I'm like crossing my fingers that it's a nice night because you walk in there and you're like, oh my gosh, this is Colorado Springs. It's very, very beautiful.
You have to pinch yourself a little bit. How is this right here, right up the road from the school? Like,
Right.
You're like, where are we?
Yeah. So not all of the classes, but there's several classes that are involved in the evening. I have my high school students coming in and helping serve bus tables, be runners at the beverage station, and then we have college students. Our college classes have a station. So I'm in charge of 4 stations. Each of the 4 full-time instructors have, 3 of us have 4 stations. So, and then we've asked local chefs. So Supanza is coming. Matt Richardson is coming from the Garden of the Gods Country Club. We have Tia Allen from the Broadmoor. We have Ashley Brown at Fort Brotherlock. So we have guest chefs coming in and preparing food with the students. We've had a couple of dry runs where they're coming in and just working with the students. We're generated ideas. So these ideas are from that era. So to give you an example, beef Wellington, Chef Rosio, that's from the 50s, and then we're doing chicken croquettes on arugula salad. 1960s, we're doing duck confit with cassoulet of beans and coq au vin. 70s, roast rack of lamb with caramelized onion and pea shoots, pea puree. Pork roulade with shaved fennel salad. And then we have the 80s with trout Veronique and lobster Newburg with Chef Africano at the warehouse.
James, awesome.
Yeah,
yes.
James. Yeah,
That's where I'll be working.
He
The
is
Lobster
just
Newburg.
he's
Nice.
fantastic. And then I have the 90s where we're doing bison brochettes with a red mole and masa crepes, a vegan carrot soup, fava bean cakes that are going to also be a vegan dish, and with a red pepper coulis, and then finally a mushroom ragu over pasta that's being made in Boulder from Pacifico with Claudia Bouvier. And so we tried to get people that are local. I'm having microgreens grown by First Leaf and Shannon. Specifically, Lyle was growing some greens for us, but we need him. He is just like one of the best students. He was growing greens for us, but we're like, we really need you in the kitchen. So we're like, we need you more in the kitchen than.
So if you're listening or watching, and that whole list of food that sounds lovely is tantalizing to you, this is an event you can attend. It is on March 9th. tickets are $75.
Right.
There's beer, there's wine as well.
Goat patches.
Goat patches serving great.
Yes.
So it's going to be great. I've been before. I've loved it. The two earlier renditions of this. I think we talked about earlier. It was Fran Folsom dinner before.
Right.
But absolutely come join us for this. Tickets are available now. When this episode airs, I'm almost positive there's still going to be tickets available, but don't wait. It's coming up very soon on us, March 9th at the Broadmoor. And again, that $75 goes to contribute to this scholarship fund named after Chef Trujillo in his honor. So it's awesome. You're going to eat well, you're going to drink well, and it's going to go to good causes.
Right.
And we're all going to be there, the students, the chefs, the community.
Absolutely.
So this is a great annual food and drink event in the city.
And I don't want to leave out the dessert station. There's a whole little room.
Don't leave out desserts. We're sitting with Lyle, the chocolate
Yes.
student. Boy. Let's do
Yes.
this. Let's do desserts.
Before you jump to the desserts, is all the food going to be cooked at the Broadmoor? Or are you cooking it here on campus and bringing it over?
Both.
Okay.
Yes.
I know because some of these things, like you said, beef Wellington, like there's some process with
right.
that.
Yeah. No, we have to do a lot of it here. And you saw the kitchens. They're
Great kitchen.
Yeah. They're
Holy cow.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have to do some here, and then it's not too far away.
Right.
So we can just kind of shuttle it over. And then they have an amazing refrigeration. So we'll be able to keep everything cold and then fire it when we need to. Their kitchen isn't real big with all the stations and all the activity that's going on, but it's gonna work.
We're going to teach banquet services, and you're going to
That's
get an
right,
extra
that's right.
education of, hey guys, here's how you get hot food from here to there safely. You
right.
didn't serve safe. Here's how we're going to keep it at temp.
Exactly.
Here's how long we can keep it at this temp
You
and
know
all
it.
that. I wanted to ask if there's anything else that Ryan and I did not ask you about that you wanted to talk about today about the school.
Well, she's got to talk about the desserts.
So,
you're jumping way far ahead.
All right,
we got to hear about the desserts because
All
the desserts I think are what people are going to like.
Okay.
Go for. I mean, I didn't hear. I'm hoping that I'm not going to hear like a mayonnaise Jello salad because that's like a period type thing.
Oh, believe me, it was thought about. And we're like, no.
You're lucky I'm not here because I'm always sort of this jokey, tricky type person. I like to do funny things, so I would have been like, yes, let's do something with Sprite and Jello and mayonnaise.
That's
Well,
right, ambrosia.
If you do Swedish fish, I'm out. I'm just going to
Exactly.
Nice white Jello in a bundt mold.
Yeah, just talk to me about chocolate. I just want to know about chocolate.
Right,
Sorry,
right.
that's my jam
Sorry.
too. So what's happening for
Actually,
dessert?
Lyle, you're doing a lot of the decoration.
Yeah.
So the decorative parts out of chocolate.
Yeah, so we'll have like all types of fun decorations like chocolate curls, and we'll do some chocolate fans for some of these as well. Some great sauces. Is there one on there, Chef, that you're most looking forward to?
Well, we have 8 different desserts that are going to be small size, and then 2 action stations, which are going to be crepe Suzette and Cherry's Jubilee. I mean, come on.
Lots of fire.
Yeah, lots of fire.
Theatrics.
Yeah, I was actually looking at the roof and I was like, so there's going to be action stations. And
It'll
she's
be
like,
fine.
oh, it's fine. It's fine. We can open some windows.
So even though we're actually there to support this scholarship fund, people are going to get their money's worth at this thing. It sounds like they're going to eat really well.
They're going to eat well. They're going to, the venue is absolutely gorgeous and it's all for a great cause. Chef Trujillo he's a legacy in this community, really. And, we miss him, but it's kind of cool because he is one of 7 chefs that have ever worked at the Broadmoor. So it's just really...
Or the executive chefs.
Executive
That's
chefs.
amazing.
Executive chefs,
They have a really, it's a tight lineage there.
Yes. And Chef Justin Miller has been phenomenal, and his whole staff and team have been just fantastic to let us use the facility. And they have just opened the doors because, Chef Trujillo was one of theirs. And they want to support our program, too, and work with us. So that's great.
Yeah, I mean, they're important to the community, too, with their own apprenticeship programs and a lot of the international people that are coming over and learning at the Broadmoor. So that's a big program, too, that our town benefits from just because it happens to be here. So.
Right.
Okay, now back to the final question, I think.
No, we haven't heard the dessert. We just heard the stations.
There
are specific
desserts. 8 of the desserts here.
She has 8. Yeah, Lyle, you tell us which one. Which one are you most excited about?
You tell Ryan all about the sugar.
He's just trying to cut you guys off to the last question. I'm just like... That's the boring question. I want to hear the food.
It's fine.
tasty
We'll just,
stuff.
I like dessert too.
I'm just going to
so I
cut
don't
this
blame
part
you.
out of the
I'm
episode
glad you
anyways.
asked.
That's
Go
what I
ahead.
do.
Let's hear about it.
Well, we're going to do one of the desserts is going to be a very traditional saucer tort. So it's going to be just a chocolate cake filled with apricot marmalade and dark chocolate. It'll have some gold leaf to make it broad more acceptable, I guess you could say. We're also going to be doing pavlovas, so just your typical meringue shells, and we'll be filling that with a vanilla cream, fresh fruit, and some edible flowers. Some almond frangipane tarts, which you guys actually just tried.
I just had one of those. You gave us a tour, then you gave us those, and those were delicious. I shared with you. I used to make a raspberry frangipane,
Right.
but I really liked that version. That was great. You said that was a pear.
Yes.
A pear frangipane.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Super good. I will go just for that again.
Okay,
We sold another one. So yeah, we got the frangipane tarts, some espresso profiterole. So if you're somebody that likes coffee like myself, I'm somewhat of an addict. Pretty
We
much
all are.
a cream puff filled with coffee chantilly cream with some dark chocolate coffee ganache. We're also going to do a traditional creme brulee with sugared blackberries, a blackberry coulis, and some caramelized sugar chips. So make it a little bit extra fancy. A chocolate raspberry roulade. So it's just a really thin cake rolled up with some raspberries and chambord and chocolate Swiss buttercream. Also, we have a pistachio apricot gâteau. So it's a pistachio jacon filled with apricot marmalade and iced with the pistachio Swiss buttercream. It's going to be
Just pause on that for a second. I just want to
let it
soak that in.
Yes.
I just want to remind people this is a culinary school. This is not advanced. It sounds that advanced, but yeah, like look how good this is already. I mean, it's a school level and you're doing that stuff.
Appreciate
This
that.
is not like at the Broadmoor yet. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
It
This
is.
sound
This
like
is
they
at
could
the
be on
Broadmoor.
Broadmoor. Yeah, I just mean like
You know this event is happening at the Broadmoor.
But I mean, like when he reads that, you're thinking, I'm sitting somewhere like the Broadmoor. This is on a menu. It's
But
that
this is
good.
on a menu at the Broadmoor.
It will be with the event, but I mean, like you got to remember, it's still coming out of a culinary school. Like, look at the level of stuff they're doing. for
I'm not
dessert.
discounting that at all. But I think you're missing that it's going to be on a menu at the Broadmoor.
Right. So yeah, to his point,
They knew that, and that's why they're like, we're pulling out all the stops. Like to my point, they didn't put a Jello ring mold salad on there
he really
Not
wants
yet.
you to make
Not
that.
yet.
You know what though? I think someone might have that as a
as a
table.
joke.
Yes.
Yeah, they should
Yes.
just to like scare someone.
They're
Be like,
threatening.
here's our main entree, and they're like, oh, it's got like canned Vienna sausages in
Right,
it.
Was
right.
that all 8? Did we get all 8?
We have one more,
One
and it was
more.
just a gluten-free, flourless chocolate cake.
Those are
Okay.
sometimes like almost the best sometimes
Yeah.
because they're just so simple.
Very decadent. Yeah.
Yeah.
And our president, Dr. Bolton, he and his wife are vegan, and so we always anything we do, we want to make sure that we're mindful of
Right.
that anyway. But having vegan, and we also want gluten-free products there,
Yeah.
items there. So
Well, it's great prep for the industry because customers,
Yes.
most restaurants now
Yes.
are asking at least for an option.
Yep.
And they definitely reward the places that aren't just afterthoughts and
Mm-hmm.
do something lame. They want someone who's actually going to take time and do a special dish for them.
Right.
We mentioned the warehouse, like James at the warehouse does a good job with his vegan options.
Right.
And people will go in for those, specifically the vegan eaters have a place for them too. So it's nice to make sure we're catering to that demographic because I know sometimes chefs can be like, what a pain in the butt. You know,
Yeah.
this is another allergy request or whatever. And you just dismiss it. But you're like, it's kind of important.
Yeah,
Like,
it is.
Everyone
It is.
deserves food accessible to them.
it is.
I know I said just flourless chocolate cake, but it's going to be the best flourless chocolate cake you've had. So
Oh, wow. Big words.
Yeah.
All right.
No,
Yeah.
it sounds like it will be.
That is a challenge.
I'll make,
Yeah.
I'll make sure of it.
Lyle just threw down everybody.
You were talking to the chocolate guy.
I know.
Yeah.
So, Lyle, I had a question for you. You know, we talked about all the varying different programs that you have to sort of go through to get your degree here. What's been your favorite class other than like the chocolate classes?
knew
What's
you
something
were
that maybe
gonna say
surprised you that you're like, wow, I didn't think I even like would have enjoyed this, but then it like was the most amazing class.
So I'm not a very fancy person. I will take a bowl of chocolate pudding and it's the best thing ever, or chocolate chip cookie. But we have a class here. It's advanced fancy desserts, petit fours essentially. And it is jam packed with information. You're going to do a lot, but I've never learned more in a class than that. You make jacquard, you make souffles, all different types. You make every type of sauce you could think of for desserts. It was an amazing class, and there are days where you will make 10 different desserts in one class, and it's a lot, but you learn a lot, and it was amazing. Chef Carpenter did an amazing job on that class.
That sounds fun.
It was.
I want to go back to school.
I know.
And delicious, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Well, because that's the other thing is that you get to eat everything that you make, right?
Yeah.
You're not just throwing it away.
Right.
Make some good friends really quick. You come home, divvy that out a little bit.
Your friends know when it's like pastry day or something.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Right.
You know, oh, that class is Tuesday. I'm coming over every Tuesday.
Nice.
that. So for just as a final question, I know that we've discussed a lot of things, but is there anything that you either want to talk about in relation to food or teaching about food?
Well, my approach to food is always, try to support your locals. I mean, we have a whole list of people that have donated to this fundraiser, but we also try to seek people out in the community that we can buy from. And for instance, let me just tell you, chicken fabrication. When we get a chicken and it's bruised, like you get your purveyor on the phone and you take a picture and send it to them and say, no, this is not acceptable. So I want to tell my students, and I do tell my students to respect food, love food, but also have an approach that, you need to be mindful about everything. So local is best. Of course, I was an organic farmer, so I kind of I really want to press that. But good food, absolutely good fresh food. Seasonally, you can buy strawberries now, but are they best? No, they're not the best. So, yeah, I think that's the final thought is just I really want to emphasize, try to buy as local as you can. And if you can't, that's okay. I mean, I was really into biotechnology for a while, and then I was like, what? There's fish genes in a tomato? Peanut genes in a tomato? Just so it can travel further? And I'm like, I don't get that.
I've found that the strawberries with rat DNA taste better than...
Exactly.
I'm not making an actual argument, but it is. You're right, though. Like the Frankenfoods.
The Frankenfoods. One time I found out that there were minuscule amounts of battery acid in tomatoes. Yes.
What?
A long time ago. But I'm like, no, that can't be possible. That's not true. And they're like, well, yeah. That's how we get them all the way to California from Florida. So, I don't know. It's just have a passion for food. So.
Lyle, what was the best thing you've cooked here with battery acid?
Some with tomatoes, I guess.
Those tomatoes are long gone now.
Yeah, those are long gone.
Right.
I had just one final question for myself, and final to the final question, I guess, is what
What's the
this
second
is.
final question?
Second final. This is the
Lyle,
second
this
final
question's
question
for you. Third final question.
Oh, is this another
I
test?
need your final answer on this one. This is definitely a test.
Is this my final?
It's at the Broadmoor, though.
It is at the Broadmoor. Yeah,
it's at the Broadmoor.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's actually going to be on a menu at the Broadmoor.
Right.
Just so you know.
Correct. Okay. Last question.
This was a little. It's personal. But what's your desert island food? Heidi, you first. Like if someone's like, you can only have you're on a desert island, you're stuck there, and someone's like, we have this magical fridge where you open it up and it has your favorite thing in it every time, but it can only be one thing.
That is a great
I'm answering
question.
for Lyle. Lyle says chocolate. I'm kidding.
Go ahead.
It
Answer for
does have
yourself.
something with it's chocolate chip cookies. There's nothing
Chocolate
better
chip cookies
in
on
the
the island.
world.
Now, when you say chocolate chip cookies, do you mean like Toll House, or do you mean like a homemade? Because
Homemade brown
Toll
butter.
House has a special affinity in my like
They're good.
childhood. Like the sticks that you can just buy and then eat before you actually make it to the oven. Those are amazing. And then they start coming in tubs, and you're like, all right, now I'm just gonna. This is how I'm gonna be turned into like a 500-pound person.
I'm working on my way.
Yeah, I
there.
know. Yeah, we're all working on the cookies. Is what's happening. So
Homemade brown butter, chocolate chip cookies. In my opinion, there's
now
nothing better.
are you reverse creaming the butter, or are you creaming the butter with the sugar?
I'm creaming it with the sugar.
Okay.
Yeah, it makes it. Oh, there's just nothing better in my mind.
There's people that are trying to tell me that the reverse creaming method is as good, but I'm with you. I'm a purist.
Appreciate that.
I don't know.
Oh, come
I
on.
don't know. Okay, let me think about it.
Let's switch it up a little bit.
Heidi, you had all that time to think while we were talking. And you
I
couldn't come up with a desert island item?
oh my God.
Well, so instead of desert island, what's something that's the comfort food for you? So a long day, you come home, and it doesn't have to be what's available. What's something that you could be like, I would eat that no matter what right now.
You know what? I'm boring. I go for fruits and vegetables. An apple, like
Fresh-
the best
fresh,
apples.
crisp,
Yes,
Honeycrisp
yes,
apple?
yeah, any kind of apple.
I like the crisper, sweeter ones. Like it's just
no, yeah, but I'm a soup sauces person.
Okay.
You know, that was something that I really actually got paid more to make the sauces and soups for a resort. But you know, if I could reach in the refrigerator and have a beautiful sauce, then I'd go forage for other things, you know?
something to dip it in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Something to dip it in or, yeah. So what would be my favorite sauce?
Yeah. Like a béarnaise or
No. I tend to go tomato based, but I'd say tomato based because tomatoes kind of are in all cultures, most cultures, and I love that. And you know, before we thought they were part of the nightshade family, so they were poisonous. But yeah,
Oh, that was the battery acid.
So now
That's
you say tomatoes. Like, are you thinking like Indian style where you're adding cream and some like warming spices? Or are you thinking more Italian where you still could be adding cream, but you're adding more of those, you know, oregano, more traditional spices?
Yeah, actually, I like the idea of just having the tomato in a sauce, like green chili. Absolutely, probably green chili because I grew up on it and Colorado and native so I'm going to say green chili. I could eat that every day.
Yeah.
I could eat it every day and fresh tortillas.
I'm with you on that.
Okay, so there's my food.
There.
Green
We
chili.
got to it. We figured it out.
Finally.
That's what we're here for, is to ask the hard questions. So for everyone watching, head to pikespeak.edu/Trujillo. There's a bunch of information about this. Tickets are $75. Business casual attire. It runs from 5 to 8 p.m. Do you want to read through some of the list of the partners and sponsors that you already have? Because those people have they've stepped out and made sure that they were available to help make this a reality.
Yes, absolutely. Can't say enough about the Broadmoor Hotel. They've just been phenomenal. Mountain Harvest Foods. We get a lot of our desserts and chocolate items from Mountain Harvest. The Golden Globe Global salts that I'm giving you some.
I know we've got salt.
Yeah, you guys
thank
have
you so much for
salt.
that gift.
Pacifico Pasta, Claudia Bouvier out of Boulder. Megan Lilly, the owner of Wayfinder Coffee, has donated coffee for the event.
Cool.
Matt Carpenter at Venice Oil has also donated oil and vinegar. His little shop is awesome. Ranch Food Direct, CTS Distributing LLC, P. Diello from Seattle, Fish, Mercer Apparel, and Shannon at First Leaf Microgreens, and then also Martha Whitaker from Betta Butta. I got that, Martha.
It's hard to say.
Betta Butta.
I've seen it written out, and I'm like, I will just stumble through it.
Yes, which I did.
It's all right.
But those are a few. That's not even the full list. That's the few that I was like, I know these off the top of my head because I asked them to donate. So these are a few. We have many more. Shamrock Foods, Cisco Foods. We have several more.
And as a student, I really just wanted to say that I appreciate all the chefs coming in and helping us with all the dishes. I worked with Chef Africano, and it was an amazing experience. It felt really nice for him to take an hour out of his time, his busy schedule, to come out and talk with a few students and teach us one of his amazing sauces. We're making the lobster Newburg, and he made sure that we knew everything that went into it, the history of the dish and everything. And it felt really nice to just have a chef that's a owner or working in the industry that's very successful to come in and spend some time with us and just kind of teach us something new. And I know there's numerous other chefs that helped us with that as well. But Chef Africano is the one that helped me. So
that's a great thing for them to come in and lend some of their professional, ability and
Absolutely.
become teachers for that hour as well, take a little lift off the teachers that spend all their time and energy.
Well, and it's also like a fresh face, and they're just like, okay, we've heard enough of you. We get somebody
That's not
new.
exactly
It
where I
does
was going.
speak to PPSC's reach in the community, though, too, that you have the chefs participating with you.
Yes.
That says something, too. You're, again, why come to school here? It is access to the industry as well, things like that. So it's not just the foundational skills like we talked about, but those other peripheral things that come with it. And
And every single chef that is participating, not one of them said, well, let me take a look at my schedule. They're like, absolutely, what, when, where, So that's the thing that I really like about our community of chefs is that collaboratively, everybody kind of jumps in and helps each other.
What's the craziest thing that's happened here in classes? Like, do you have any
it's the
funny...
final
Yeah,
question. if you're tracking
final
it.
question. But like, is there anything that you can think of that was just like, oh my gosh, this was hilarious. Can't believe this actually happened. Do you have any type of like stories?
And not a bad burn. That stuff's
No, it
not
doesn't.
funny.
Yeah, those
I'm kidding.
I've worked in. We've both worked in
been there.
kitchens. We've sliced ourselves. I have scars on my arms from reaching into pizza ovens. But like, is there anything where something just made you just have to like almost break character and just like sit back and laugh? Like, oh my goodness.
I'm trying to think.
You don't have to, and if not, it's okay. I'm just trying to trying to just get to know you as people and not just
the first
instructor.
the first thing I think of are the safety hazards that have happened.
Yeah, we don't want to mention those.
We don't
Let's
want
just-
to. Those things are.
They happen in every kitchen.
They happen in every kitchen. No, actually,
we won't show this to OSHA. We won't.
Actually, it was just amazing when Rebecca, she said, I'm going to send some stuff over to the school. We're dumping some things from the warehouse, and a pallet of salt comes. I'm like, what? And I said, Rebecca, so I just want to make sure that, was this a donation? Or
Like, what is this?
Yeah, and she goes, no, it's dead stock, and I want you to make sure that the students get in. And so you are going home with some salt. But that was, for me, I was just like, and Chef Carpenter, his eyes were big as saucers, and he's like, did you order all that salt? I'm like, no, I didn't, I promise.
Someone's going through the POs going like, I don't think we ordered this.
No.
The budget's gone.
She donated, don't worry. And he's like,
I
okay.
didn't hear of any smoked salt used in any of the desserts you described.
That's true. Yeah,
No smoked salt, caramel, or anything.
It's all gone.
There's time to tweak that menu before we launch.
true.
You got
That's
until
true.
the 9th.
That's
to
a good
work- to
idea,
work
though.
Matt, you can bring your own smoked salt and just add it to everything.
I will.
Yeah.
I'll just pinch on the top.
People travel with their own hot sauces. They
Oh, that's
really
this
do.
guy over here.
Yeah, don't. I
Brian's got
only
a
have
hot-
one tattoo, and it's
He's got a hot sauce
Nice.
problem. That's a secret about Ryan you didn't know until this
I
episode.
have an addiction to hot
Hot
sauce.
sauce guy.
And coffee.
Nice.
I'm with you on the coffee.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm right there with hot sauce.
And I'm with you on the chocolate, so we're all there.
Yeah.
We got to incorporate them all.
I want to thank you for taking time out of your day. You have a busy schedule, I can bet, based on just what we've seen and heard about the program. So thank you for taking time to talk with us. I hope that someone watching this will maybe be inspired to sign up for classes
Yeah,
or
well,
to
thanks.
send their high schooler here.
Absolutely.
And maybe we can hopefully inspire that next generation of culinary professionals.
And all you foodies out there, you better come to this event because this is going to be fabulous. I mean, we're trying to make this an annual event. So come and try all of the foods that we've mentioned before. You're going to have fun. It's going to be, we have a DJ coming in and playing music from all different eras. It's just going to be fun and lighthearted, but the food is going to be real. It's going to be good. It's going to be delicious. So you foodies out there, I know you're there. You better come join us. It's not that expensive. It is well worth it. You're getting food
For what
and
you just described, that's a steal.
it is. And donate to the scholarship fund.
Ryan's going to ask a final question.
I'm not asking
wants
any more
to know-
fun. You're the only one that's
He
going to do
wants
that.
to know on the DJ's set list. Could you read through the set list for us now?
Song by song.
Yes.
I was just
You
I
did the
was,
desserts for
I'm
us. If you
sitting
just
here.
patiently do the set list.
Heidi had teased the desserts, and I went, I want to hear it. I need to hear
It was a great question. It was
I don't
probably
care what
my
you
favorite
think.
question all day.
I don't care.
I could listen to Lyle read
I'm gonna
dessert
cut your
things just
questions
all
out of
day.
this entire
In fact,
episode.
when we do like credit fade, could you just repeat Lyle reading dessert descriptions.
I'm for hire. I haven't started my career yet, so if you guys need,
You got to get on Cameo and do like voiceovers.
Absolutely.
You got a good voice.
all right, radio is the next degree.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool.
There's probably something here. You could just jump over to another building and start doing radio production.
Culinary broadcasting at
Sounds
Pikes
good.
Peak State College.
There's got to be a culinary podcast or chocolate podcast. There's got to be a niche.
I feel like
ready
there's like a culinary podcast or like some weird thing in this town, maybe. Oh,
Maybe.
wait.
That's
Oh, yeah.
you.
Oh, that's us.
He didn't get it right away.
All right. Well, thank you again.
We're
you guys.
excited that we're part of episode 4.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for having
I
us.
hope that you continue because
Well, I hope
this
we
has
can
been
have you
fun.
back next year,
Yeah.
and maybe we can, do more and help sort of push this, learning side of things, because there's a lot of people that are either their own critics about the food scene in Colorado Springs, and the only way to make it better is to get people that know what they're doing out into the scene.
Yeah. So we'll see you on March 9th.
See you on March 9th.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.